That in fact was going to be my next question. I mean, what have we done or not done as a society that permitted the radical right to grow to this extent in the United States? And what do you think we can do about it now?
Well, the only conclusion I can come to is that we have to keep asking questions. We have to keep demanding answers. And we have to publicize our thoughts on the matter. We must debate it. Unfortunately, the real question is, how tolerant should we be of intolerance? And that's something that needs a very serious debate in our culture now. Because if we're too tolerant, we let in those beliefs that will destroy us. And are we prepared to allow our culture to be destroyed? I'm not. And that's why I wrote the book. Because I think we have let too much of this intolerance to be promulgated through our media.
Of course, knowing where to draw the line is the tricky thing, isn't it?
It is. It is when we're talking in the abstract or we're talking in generalization, but when it comes down to person, quite often the line is quite clear. It's very easy to know when you're sitting talking to someone whether you're going to simply debate an issue or whether you're going to start attacking them. Mm-hmm. The line's quite clear. I think what's happened is we've tried to universalize all our principles, and the line's become completely lost through that urge, shall I say, or that tendency. We've forgotten the pragmatic. We've forgotten that we're human beings living on this earth, trying to live together, trying to survive.
Michael, I found it very curious in the book how the fundamentalists of the different religions actually had agendas that were dependent on the actions of the other.
There's a complete nonsense going on. For the Christian fundamentalists, the three signs of the return of Jesus will be the gathering of the people of Israel together, the taking of Jerusalem, and the rebuilding of the temple. And of course in 1948, the gathering of the Jewish people, 1967, the retaking of Jerusalem, but the temple is yet to be rebuilt. But they're very interested in the fundamentalist Jewish groups who are trying to destroy the Muslim mosques on the Temple Mount and rebuild the temple. And there's a very curious business going on there, that the fundamentalist Jewish groups cannot invade the Temple Mount and destroy the mosques, lest they step on the Holy of Holies. They have to purify it first. And the only way they can purify it is by breeding this perfect red heifer, sacrificing the heifer, burning it, mixing its ashes with spring water, and then sprinkling it with branches of hyssop over the Temple Mount as they're invading it to destroy these buildings. So we have this unholy alliance between the fundamentalist Christians who want the temple built because Jesus is coming back. So they are helping, or have been helping, with the breeding program. We have the fundamentalist Jewish groups who want that help and the money that comes with it so that they can destroy the Islamic structures. But once this is done, and the Jewish Messiah comes, and Jesus comes, who is the Christian Messiah, are they the same Messiah? I don't think so, because the Jews say that it can't possibly be Jesus. But the Christians, of course, want to convert all the Jews. So there's this basic problem at the heart of this alliance. And then, of course, we have the Muslims, who also think that their Messiah, the Mahdi, will be coming back to Jerusalem, oddly enough, with Jesus. So we have three Messiahs all coming back to Jerusalem. Is this a trinity of Messiahs? Or is it the same Messiah? Or are they all going to have to fight it out for their bit of sacred space in Jerusalem?
And even more fundamentally, is it not the same God?
Well, as far as they're concerned, it's not.
No.
And this is the problem. It's a complete crevasse at the heart of this alliance. And sometime or another, this crevasse is going to sweep open and break the alliance into a million fragments. And who knows what's going to happen as a result of that.
Yeah, yeah. Islamic fundamentalism seems to be fueled primarily by wounded pride. And the masses seem to be very cynically manipulated by this kind of power elite, which is quasi-religious, quasi-secular. Do you think there are sufficient numbers of moderate Muslims to turn the tide away from perpetual conflict, or not?
In my experience in the Middle East, most Muslims are moderate. And most Muslims don't have a problem with other religions. But this extremism pertains in Judaism as well as in Christianity. And all of them are focusing upon the children. The Muslim children are taught in madrasas, all they read is the Quran for years. They know no history, they know no science, they only know the Quran. We've got the homeschooling system in the States, where the Christian fundamentalists have taken over this particular institution and are teaching their children a theocratic type of government in the hope that in another generation or so that they will be in positions of power to destroy democracy. They regard democracy as a heresy. And of course the Jewish fundamentalists have got their own training programs for children. To me, it's a kind of child abuse. I think it's very dangerous. I think it's a very nasty and manipulative thing to do to your children. And unfortunately, these fundamentalists, these extremists, don't seem to care. Their ideology, their belief system is more important than the slightest aspect of humanity. I mean, they seem to have forgotten that Jesus said, "Blessed are the merciful," or "Blessed are the peacemakers." The fundamentalist Christians see Jesus as a man in a long robe stained with blood. There's a lot of violence and lots of piles of bodies in fundamentalism, whereas in the moderate...
Of every stripe.
Of every stripe. The moderate factions in all three religions want to live a good life, want to worship the divine, want to get on with their neighbours, want to help each other, want their children to go to school, want to have a job. They are not involved in this extremism.
Right.
And unfortunately, because of our so-called tolerance, we've given this extremism a voice. And because of our political adventurism, we've given this extremism a kind of hook to hang its nasty ideas on.